Charlie married me when I was at my worst. Everyone said that he married me to spite my sister. But after he died in a car accident, he left all his inheritance to me. And a recorder. I clicked it and heard his hoarse and deep voice. He said, "Amy, can you like me too?" After many years, I finally got a glimpse of his majestic and grand love hidden under the ice. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn. My adoptive mother was holding my hand and saying, "Amy, can you go to jail for your sister?" Before I was 16, I was the spoiled eldest daughter of Emma's family. Loved by his parents and favored by his brother, he lived a carefree life. But when Emma came to me with the DNA test, I realized that the nurse had taken the wrong baby. She is the real daughter, and I am just a bad dove in the magpie's nest. I wanted to leave, but my biological parents had already passed away, and Emma's mother couldn't bear to see me become an orphan. They formally adopted me. My adoptive parents were very good to me, my brother didn't ignore me, and Emma never made things difficult for me. I was grateful, but later, Emma had an argument with her co-stars backstage. During the argument, the man fell down the stairs and became a vegetable. There was no surveillance at the time, but someone had to take responsibility. And I happened to be there at the time and witnessed it all. The adoptive mother came to me in tears and begged me to take the blame for Emma. Emma knelt in front of me, kowtowed, slapped herself, and said sorry to me. The whole family cried their hearts out, so I nodded. I took the blame for her, went to jail, and suffered a lot. At first, Emma's family would still come to see me, crying with guilt or apology. But gradually, no one came. One time, the prison organized an activity and the warden asked us about our plans after we were released from prison. I thought about it for a long time before I started writing seriously. After I get out of prison, I want to see my parents. When the cellmate next to me saw it, he laughed at me for writing it so simply. "Dad and Mom will definitely come to pick you up, how can you not see them?" I smiled and didn't refute. But when I was actually released from prison, no one came. Only Emma's father's assistant took me to the airport and gave me a large sum of money. He didn't say anything, but I understood everything. Dad and Mom don't want me anymore. Emma's family abandoned me. I didn't ask for money, I'm not being noble. I just don't want to owe Emma's family anything anymore. Emma's family raised me for more than 20 years, and I served 5 years in jail for their daughter. After we were cleared of all charges, I rented a house and ran around a lot before I found a job that didn't look down on me because of my criminal background. But after just half a month of working, he was fired. After I asked him repeatedly, the manager stammered and said, "You offended the wrong person." I was stunned for a moment and couldn't say anything. The only people you shouldn't mess with are Emma's family. Who else could it be? That day, I walked onto the street with my bag in my arms. It was drizzling and the cool rain fell on my face and body with the wind. When passing by the central square, Emma's live broadcast was playing on the big screen. I stopped and looked up. On the podium, she was gorgeous and charming, showing off her beauty to the fullest. The camera turned back and I saw Emma's father and mother looking at her with tears in their eyes. It was as if I was looking at a rare treasure, my eyes were full of love. I don't know why, but I suddenly remembered the first time I visited him in prison. My adoptive mother looked at me, who was losing weight very quickly, and promised me with tears in her eyes, "Amy, when you are released from prison, Mom will support you forever, Mom loves you." But 2 years ago, when I last saw her, there was only a hint of guilt on her face. She said, "Amy, Emma is getting engaged to Charlie. She likes him very much. When you are released from prison, can you leave here? So as to avoid Charlie's family from discovering the past." Charlie. The Prince of Charlie family. There is a TV in the prison, and I can occasionally hear Emma and Charlie's deep love. It is said that Charlie is a famous playboy in the circle, but he gave up for Emma. He stepped into the entertainment industry that he despised the most, paved the way for her, provided her with connections and resources, and personally presented awards to her. I sometimes envy Emma. I envy her for having the love of her parents and the favoritism of her boyfriend. In just over 20 years, she has achieved success in both career and love. Unlike me, I have no parents, no career, no lover, and no one loves me. As for marrying Charlie, it was an accident. After being fired, I returned to my hometown and worked as a waiter in a restaurant. He was quite busy. I don't know where he got the news, but when he found me, I was serving beer to the guests. The man was drunk and his hands and feet were dirty. I frowned and slapped him. The man was furious and kicked me to the ground. The wine bottle and food spilled all over me and it burned me badly. The man was still not satisfied and continued to curse and even wanted to take action, but he was silent the next second. I opened my eyes and met the man's eyes that were as bright as stars. Charlie curled his lips and smiled. But it was lazy and not very sincere. Amy, you are really here. I stood up, shook off the food crumbs on my body, nodded, and tried to walk around him and leave. But after taking only 2 steps, I heard his voice behind me. You look so miserable. Will you marry me? I looked back at him in surprise. Are you finally crazy? Seriously? Charlie looked at me, his eyes were dark and there was no emotion. But he was serious when he spoke. To tell you the truth, your sister dumped me and I'm upset. And you were forced into this state by Emma's family, and we can barely be considered as a member of the Victims' Alliance. The streetlight was dim, flickered twice, and then was declared scrapped. I couldn't see his face clearly, I could only hear him sneer. The cigarette at the corner of his mouth emitted a glimmer of red light. You have nothing now anyway, and you won't lose anything if you marry me, so what are you afraid of? I thought about it and didn't say anything. He waited for me quietly. Until a cool breeze blew, I subconsciously shrank, and Charlie took off his high-end custom-made windbreaker and put it on my shoulders. In an instant, my nostrils were filled with his faint scent of tobacco. I said, okay. When the news of the marriage spread, everyone was shocked. They all said that Charlie married me just to spite Emma. At the wedding, when Charlie said he did, I noticed Emma was crying with red eyes in the audience. She left the scene in a state of disgrace. I glanced at the man, but he just smiled and didn't even look at her. As if I have never loved, as if I really don't care. After marriage, Charlie treated me very well. He arranged a secretary job for me, so we were tied together all the time. I asked him why, and he just smiled. I'm worried about leaving a beautiful woman at home. I'm afraid that a thief will steal you away, and I'll lose my virginity, which would be a huge loss. I laughed at him for being so dishonest. I'm too lazy to argue with him. I suffered so much during those years in prison, and my body can't stand any more torture. A common cold and cough would turn into a serious illness for me. Charlie invited many famous doctors to treat me, and I got better. He held my hand in front of the bed. Seriously and sincerely, Amy, I bought you, your life is mine, you can't die before me. Although she only knew what the child said, but looking at his slightly bitter eyes, she finally nodded. I don't understand why he is sad. But I have long learned not to ask questions and not to disturb them. Good. Grow old together. But, in the end, it was the one who didn't keep his promise. But it wasn't me, it was Charlie. Mrs. Charlie, Mr. Charlie passed away at 3 o'clock yesterday morning due to a serious car accident and failed to be rescued. Please accept my condolences. When we opened the morgue, Charlie's parents were already crying inconsolably. I looked at Charlie, whose face was as pale as a ghost, and thought to myself, God favors him and has given him a family background, looks, and abilities that no one else can match, but why was he so stingy as to only give him 34 years? What a pity. I was the one who organized Charlie's funeral. 5 years after marriage, many people still did not see the future of my marriage to him. Emma turned her love into hate and was always waiting to see me make a fool of myself. But no one expected that Charlie would give me all his property and shares. Charlie's parents had no objection. But when he left, his back was hunched and he no longer had the spirit of the past. A week later, Charlie's lawyer Ben brought me the estate transfer agreement. Before leaving, he handed me a recorder. This is Mr. Charlie's legacy. It has been fixed. I think you might need it, ma'am. Amy, in the recording pen, the man's voice was clear and cold, mixed with a hint of electric current. Even more hoarsely, I married you not because I was angry with Emma, but because I like you. I was stunned for a moment, but my heart was calm. As if he had expected it, Charlie smiled gently. Maybe you have forgotten that we have met before. At that time, you were the most beautiful girl in the school, but you were extremely smart and the teacher's favorite. My mentor always mentions you. Every time he finishes chatting with your teacher. He always says to me angrily, Charlie, I hate you now, stay away from me. He imitated his mentor's tone and looked particularly adorable. I laughed subconsciously. But the next moment, it was slowly retracted. Charlie continued, I hated you so much at that time, but I couldn't help but keep my eyes on you. I seemed to be a little bit of a villain. But later, you went to jail for so-called intentional injury. I didn't believe it and I had to find out the truth, but unfortunately, Emma's family had cleared away all the clues, so I set my sights on Emma. So that's it. The love story between Charlie and Emma that everyone praised was just an excuse for him to find out the truth about my imprisonment. But Charlie didn't expect that Emma would be so tight-lipped. But he finally found some clues. I suddenly remembered that before we got married, Charlie asked me excitedly one day, Amy, do you want revenge? In no mood. I shook my head, we're even. Many years have passed. I finally understood that he probably found out the truth that day. He found out the truth for me. And for my sake, he hid the truth. It turns out that everything is because of me. The emotions in my eyes trembled violently, my whole body couldn't help but tremble continuously, and tears fell one by one. But then again, my acting must have been very good, so I fooled everyone, including you. Do you know how cute your expression and eyes were when I asked you to marry me? I've always wanted to ask you. Charlie coughed. He was always cold and arrogant, but at this moment his voice was rarely shy like a teenager. Amy, can I, like me too? I may not be able to hear it in this life, so please tell me when I come to find you in the next life. I heard his last words clearly, accompanied by the screech of sudden brakes and the noisy screams of the crowd. He said, Amy, I really like you so much. There was actually a hint of smile in the ending tone. The emotions that had been suppressed suddenly collapsed at this moment. In the empty living room, the lilies that Charlie brought home a few days ago were still placed on the table. I have always liked lilies. He held it before me like a treasure. Amy, are they fragrant? I picked them one by one. Amy, from now on I will be responsible for changing all the flowers in the house. At that time, the faint smile in his eyes was like gentle starlight. How could I say no? But the person who made the promise lied. He left first. It also took away Lily's last bit of life. The warm sun shone through the floor-to-ceiling windows onto my shoulders. I raised my hand to touch it, but it felt cold. To this day. I finally got a glimpse of Charlie's majestic and secret love hidden under the ice. But, it seems too late. Lawyer Ben met Mrs. Charlie again a week later. He came to get the estate transfer deed. He followed Charlie for many years and met Mrs. Charlie many times. In his impression, Mrs. Charlie was always respectable. With a gentle smile on her face, she is like a jade Buddha on a wine jar, watching the troubles of the world with cold eyes. Not happy, not angry, not moved. Even when she learned of Charlie's death, she was just stunned for a moment, and her eyes didn't even turn red. Charlie is so good to her. But got a tear from her. Lawyer Ben once felt sorry for Charlie. But this time, as soon as he entered the living room, Lawyer Ben saw Mrs. Charlie holding a few bunches of lilies that had already withered. His face was whiter than the falling snow. When she saw him, she didn't even smile politely, but just stated coldly, Lawyer Ben, please donate his property to the orphanage. I don't want his. There is no intention of negotiation. Before leaving, Lawyer Ben couldn't help but turned back and asked, Madam, have you ever liked Boss Charlie? Mrs. Charlie just smiled but didn't answer. Many years later, Mrs. Charlie had become a philanthropist reported by the media and had sponsored countless orphans. The next time I saw her was at her bedside. She was clearly only 45 years old, but her hair was already completely white. At that time, she looked out the window, as if she saw someone, with a girlish and innocent look on her face, she said. Always liked it. Amy, Mom begs you to save your sister. Your sister is so young, how can she go to jail? Sister, I really know I was wrong. I didn't mean it. I don't want to go to jail. I'm a big star. If I go to jail, my life will be ruined. When I woke up from the darkness, I heard a noisy crying voice in my ears. My head was aching so badly that I slowly opened my eyes and could see everything clearly. Emma knelt on the ground, crying. Emma's father hugged her and comforted her. Emma's mother was holding my hand tightly, her eyes and face were full of tears, she choked a little when she spoke, but she was very serious. Amy, why don't you go to jail for your sister? I looked at her silently, as if it was an encouragement. Emma's mother gritted her teeth and said, Amy, there is no surveillance at the scene. Only you and Emma were there, and the paparazzi only captured your back. There's nothing to recognize. As long as you admit that you accidentally pushed Jane, the police won't be able to find out anything. Don't worry, after you go to prison, Mom will take care of everything for you. We won't let you suffer. After you are released from prison, Emma's family will support you for the rest of your life. She had said the same thing in her previous life. But the shelf life is only 1 year. The promise expired and I was kicked out of the single room. Because of my beauty, I was bullied and retaliated against by some people. Beating, insulting, and even poisoning. It's so miserable, but no one sees me. It was not until I was released on medical parole due to nitrite poisoning in my food that Emma came to my bedside. That day, she glanced down at me with a hint of impatience in her eyes. After all, it's a prison, not a resort, and it's inevitable to suffer a little. Amy, don't be so squeamish. Emma is going on a business trip abroad recently. I am worried about her and I guess she won't have time to visit you in the future. I never saw her again after that. Looking at Emma's mother's tearful face, I believe that what she said at this moment was from the heart. But, true love is fickle. My guilt and self-blame eventually turned into a deeper fear as time went by. I gently broke free from Emma's mother's hand and said, "No." Emma's mother was stunned. She probably didn't expect that I, who seemed to be as obedient as a sheep, would actually reject her. But when I spoke again, it was with seriousness and determination. "Mom, I thank you for raising me for 20 years, but I don't want to sacrifice my whole life for it. You can call me selfish or ungrateful, but I don't want to take the blame for her. I came back to life not to repeat the same mistakes. In my last life, Charlie saved me. In this life, I want to save myself." Then, he walked to Charlie with a clean face and a respectable appearance. My refusal made Emma's father furious. He scolded me for not being grateful. He has enjoyed the benefits of Emma's family for so many years, but is unwilling to give even a penny. Emma's mother, Emma, cried her heart out. But seeing that I refused to listen, they were worried that I would run away. So they locked me in the room. Only my brother Kevin remained silent from beginning to end. Just like in the previous life. Mother Emma took away my cell phone, but she didn't know that I had a spare one. Called the cell phone. The news that Jane was seriously injured in an accident yesterday and became a vegetable has been on the hot list. There are few clues. Only the paparazzi took a blurry photo of his back. And his sentence, Emma and her sister were alone with Jane for some time. The police are probably on their way. I opened my spare phone and subconsciously dialed a number. Looking at the familiar number, I was stunned for a moment, but I didn't dial it in the end. Somehow, I always feel a little scared. I was afraid that the person on the other end of the phone was not someone I knew, and I was even more afraid that when I woke up from the dream, I would never see him again. In my previous life, after Charlie passed away, I paid his cell phone bill regularly. I texted him late at night. Either daily or just to complain. I always get one sentence, "Amy, I'm here." It was his auto-reply, which he had set before he died. How could this person be so hateful? He holds my heart in such a hateful way that I cannot forget him no matter 10, 20, or even 30 years. I got up and opened the curtains. The warm sun shone through the window and fell on me, bringing a hint of coolness. I saw the police outside the door. And the subtle glances from Emma's father. With shaking hands, I finally sent a text message. "Charlie, do you want to come and rescue me?" Emma's mother originally wanted to stop me from coming forward and then prove my guilt. But I slammed the door hard. Facing the police's inquiries, I ignored Emma's mother's pleading look and responded one by one. In my previous life, I was able to successfully convict and close the case because I took the initiative to admit the crime and even erased my alibi. But in this life, I won't be so stupid. The kindness of the past 20 years or so had been completely exhausted in the previous life. Not hating is my limit. Compared with my calmness, Emma seemed flustered and guilty. Who is right and who is wrong? One glance tells it all. When Emma was taken away, Emma's mother cried hysterically. Emma's father had an even gloomier look on his face, and occasionally glanced at me with a look as if he was an enemy who wanted to kill his daughter. I wish I could be torn into pieces. The two followed Emma and left. I looked at her quietly, without saying a word. At this time, Kevin came to my side and said in a deep voice, "Emma's family can no longer accommodate you. Amy, please get out of here." I looked up at him, and my gaze paused for a second at his red eyes. "Don't you blame me?" Kevin was stunned for a moment. He didn't answer yes or no, but just looked in the direction of the police car. His voice was as light as a gust of wind. "Amy, you are my sister too." He said the same thing in his previous life. He advised me not to take the blame. I asked him why, and he looked down at me, his eyes like wind and rain, gentle and compassionate. "You are my sister too." But I failed to live up to his advice. But this time, I decided to listen to him. I'm afraid Emma's mom and Emma's dad hate me to the core now, and staying here will only add to their troubles. I said seriously, "Brother, take care of yourself." Kevin curled his lips and said in a hoarse voice, "Amy, live your life well." After packing my luggage, I walked out of Emma's family. Looking forward, the wind blew and blew up the fallen leaves. At this moment, the sunshine falls on me and it feels warm. At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed in front of me, speaking in a panic. "Amy, I'm here. Are you okay?" I was stunned for a moment and looked up. The man was wearing a black shirt, his body was tall and straight, his eyes were deep. The whole person is drowning in the morning sun, as if standing in the light. His handsome face with a hint of evil looks lazy and careless. But at this moment, his face turned slightly pale, and he looked at me nervously. Seeing that I was unharmed, his expression relaxed and his eyes paused on my suitcase for 2 seconds. He spoke again, somewhat hesitantly. Amy, you ran away from home? It's Charlie, or to be more precise, Charlie who is many years younger. Memories of the past flashed through my mind quickly. He looked at me tenderly, and he yawned lazily. He held my hand and we walked into marriage step by step, and finally it ended on the evening when we first met. He seemed lazy, but he secretly clenched his hands. He asked me, Amy, will you marry me? At this moment, my heart was beating fast and my eyes were reluctant to leave the man. Until he widened his eyes in panic and said in surprise, Amy, why are you crying? Who bullied you? Am I crying? Why are you crying? See him again. I should be happy. However, all the emotions that had been pent up in my heart from my previous life turned into tears and flowed out from my heart. I couldn't stop crying. I cried and Charlie stayed with me quietly. After a long time, he held me in his arms, his voice deep, with a hint of helpless pampering, as if coaxing a beloved child. Amy, stop crying. Whoever bullied you, I will help you get revenge, okay? Oh no. I clutched his sleeves and shook my head, no revenge. In this life, I just want to be with you. Don't think about anything. I followed Charlie back to his apartment. Deserted and quiet is his style. In my previous life, I lived here for a long time after Charlie passed away. It's a commemoration. It's like a reminiscence. It's hard to explain, I'm already familiar with the layout here. But I didn't notice that as I walked into the deepest part, turned the corner, and pushed the door. When he walked into the bathroom, Charlie's eyes darkened for a moment. Looking at myself in the mirror with red and swollen eyes and a disheveled look. I sighed softly. I feel a little embarrassed. Clearly determined to face Charlie decently. But every time we meet, I always feel so embarrassed. But it doesn't matter. Charlie loves me so much. Will not dislike me. Never. This is the most certain and confident thing in my life. When I walked out of the bathroom, Charlie was leaning outside the door waiting for me. He asked me, "Why are you crying?" I told him everything that had just happened frankly. There is nothing to hide between him and me. After hearing this, Charlie was stunned for a moment. So, Emma's family wants you to take the blame? I nodded, but I refused. This matter will not end so easily. Although Jane is seriously injured and still unconscious. There is no substantial evidence, so I can only wait for her to wake up before I can take the blame. Even though Emma is now considered a strong suspect by the police, you are also a suspect. The more he spoke, the gloomier his face became, and I suddenly interrupted him. Charlie, I'm a little hungry. He paused, then looked at me. Seeing my clear eyes. Without a trace of nervousness, he sighed helplessly, I'll do it. I nodded. In my previous life, I had a serious stomach problem, so Charlie learned about medicinal food and cooked for me every day. He is very good at cooking and I thought he could cook. But at this moment, what he served was the noodles that were clumped together. I suddenly realized that Charlie, a young master, had always been served by others. How come you can cook in the first place? He learned it for me. It's always been for me. I picked up the chopsticks and took a bite. It was quite salty. But Charlie looked at me expectantly. Is it delicious? There were tiny stars in his eyes. Very beautiful. He looks exactly like the man in my memory who smiled and asked me if I liked him. I lowered my head, suppressed the sour emotion, and nodded heavily. It's delicious. Also, I like it very much. The last bowl of noodles. Thrown into the trash. Because I cried, Charlie thought it was because the food was disgusting. So he picked up the chopsticks and took a bite. Then, the next second, it went into the trash can. He frowned and looked dissatisfied. I want to cry too, why is it so disgusting? Very cute. It made me laugh out loud, dispelling the depression between my brows. I encouraged. It doesn't matter, your cooking will definitely be delicious in the future. Why? I smiled and said, because, I will be your only diner in the future. The man's eyes flashed, and his eyes seemed thoughtful, revealing an unfathomable and profound look. He said in a deep voice, Amy, who are you to my future? I was stunned for a moment. I raised my eyes to look at him, only to meet his dark eyes, confident and determined. He guessed it. Too. He is always so smart. Perhaps I paused for a moment, then slowly said, my love. Spouse. People in love. I thought Charlie might be stunned, or frown and ask, but his expression relaxed, his eyes curved slightly, and the corners of his lips turned up. His casualness faded away and he looked very sincere. He said, "That's good. That's good." Looking at the teardrop moles at the corners of his eyes trembling with his smile, I suddenly wanted to taste what they tasted like. Think about it and do it. I lifted her foot and kissed it. In his astonished eyes, I smiled brightly. "Charlie, I like you so much. I forgot to tell you in my previous life. Let me tell you about this life. I like you. Always liked it." Before going to bed, Charlie covered me with a blanket. "If you're scared, just call me and I'll come right over." Before leaving, he placed the amulet around his neck in my hand. I know this. Charlie was weak when he was a child, so Mrs. Charlie asked for a talisman for him. Protect him and raise him to adulthood. Now, he also uses it to protect my safety. I clutched the jade pendant, my heartbeat was fluctuating, and my cheeks were burning hot. Until Charlie slowly walked out and closed the door. Then I suddenly felt my face feeling a little sore. I touched the corner of my mouth and realized I had been smiling. My heart also feels bloated. Charlie is always like this. He may seem like a playboy who never takes anything to heart, but he is actually the most caring and gentle person. And I didn't fall asleep until midnight. A little excited and a little scared. I glanced at the phone next to the pillow and wondered if Charlie was asleep yet. I was a little afraid of disturbing him by calling. It's better to just send a text message. "Are you asleep?" As soon as I sent it out, I felt it was unnecessary and wanted to withdraw it. Suddenly, footsteps were heard at the door. Then, there was the sound of the door being pushed open. When I opened my eyes again, Charlie was standing in front of my bed. The moonlight filtered through the window and fell on Charlie's shoulders, softening his sharp edges into something soft and gentle. He leaned over and asked softly, "Amy, what's wrong?" It took less than a minute to send the message. He has already arrived. He really practices what he says. He said he would come, so no matter how late it is, he will come. Perhaps, like me, he did not sleep well that night. Just because I'm afraid I really need him. Thinking of this, my heart was tightly tied into a ball. It hurts and feels stuffy. I stayed at Charlie's house for half a month. The most fun thing is waiting for Charlie to come home. He went into the kitchen to work on his cooking, while I leaned against the door and watched him quietly. Give him a hand occasionally. Under the warm yellow light, he had his hair combed back, revealing a handsome yet somewhat immature face, covered with a layer of soft gauze, exuding a hint of tenderness. At this time, he had not yet graduated from university. Compared to the decisive and ruthless boss Charlie in his previous life, he now looks a little green and immature. This was a time she had never participated in and never known. He occasionally looked up at me, with the corners of his lips slightly raised. The love clear in those eyes cannot be hidden. He likes me so much. At this moment, I realized that Charlie really loved me with all his heart, even when I was unaware of it. My heart suddenly tightened, and the emotions in my heart flowed through my body along with my blood, finally turning into a long sigh. Charlie's cooking skills are getting better day by day. Emma's family finally couldn't hold back any longer. I once thought that Emma's family would not let Emma plead guilty and go to jail. But I didn't expect that Emma's family would bribe Jane's agent and point out that I was the real culprit. So shameless, so despicable. In front of the camera, Emma's mother revealed Emma and I's life stories. She cried with tears in her eyes. I really didn't expect Amy to deliberately hurt others. She has always been a very good child, but now, in order to avoid being convicted, she has framed her own sister. Although Emma is my biological daughter, she has never enjoyed a happy life. Now she is being framed and imprisoned. Amy really makes me feel heartbroken. Emma huddled in her arms, clumsily wiping away her tears, but she herself let the tears slide down her cheeks. "Mom, don't be sad. My sister must have made a mistake because she was confused. If I can atone for my sister's sin, I am willing to do it for her, as long as she can be filial to you." The mother and daughter cried sadly in front of the media. Those who make mistakes must take responsibility, and you don't have to take responsibility for things that you shouldn't take. Finally, Emma's father faced the camera. "It is said righteously, Amy, Emma's family has raised her for so many years. I hope you can stand up and atone for your mistakes." As soon as the video leaked, there was a crusade against me on the internet. What an ungrateful person, a fake daughter who enjoyed so many years of happiness in vain. But she let the daughter of Emma's family take the blame for her. Is she a human being? Amy, you are such a vicious woman. You dare not take responsibility for what you did, how disgusting. Yes, Emma's family has been very kind to you, but you repay them with evil. You are so pure. The scolding continued. My personal account was also exposed, and I was bombarded with private messages every day. Even my former classmates called to ask about my situation. I will occasionally reply to those who care about me. Anyone who asks me to confess will be blocked immediately. There was constant turmoil in the outside world, but I did nothing. No matter how much momentum Emma's family creates, as long as the police don't summon me. I am innocent. Why bother losing your composure and falling into the trap of self-proof? Charlie received the news that day and rushed home. The first thing he said was, "I can help you." I smiled and said, "No, I can do it myself." But he stopped talking halfway. For some reason, I suddenly remembered something that happened in my previous life. A violent quarrel. But it is said to be intense. In fact, it was just because Charlie treated me too well, which made many people jealous. Someone spread the news of my imprisonment behind my back, and there was a lot of criticism online. But in the end, it's just that I'm not worthy of Charlie. Charlie wanted to help me get rid of the rumors. I want to attend the press conference with me and file a legal lawsuit against those who gossip about me. But I don't think it's necessary. I've been to jail before, and although I have a clear conscience, I don't want Charlie to be criticized for it. But this pissed Charlie off. He asked me coldly whether I cared about him and whether I regarded him as my husband. But I just think it's better to deal with it coldly, because I think he is being unreasonable. That day, the lights were not on in the living room, leaving only the afterglow of the setting sun. After a long silence, he sneered and said softly, "You live in this world with a clean conscience, and I won't tolerate anyone pointing fingers at you. Amy, do you understand?" I remained silent and refused to reply him. When I was leaving, I looked back and saw his lonely back. I kind of regret that. I thought, I might as well agree to him. It's just a small thing. But I didn't expect that would be the last time we saw each other. After his death, I asked myself this question again and again. Why don't you want to accompany him? Why won't you tell him how I feel? The bunches of lilies, the meticulous care. With that focused look in his eyes, could I really not realize that he loved me? I clearly know that. But I'm a bully. I am certain that Charlie will stay with me until the end of my life, and I will indulge in his love willfully. But she never tried to comfort his uneasy heart. Until he died. I understand love. But the cruelest thing about love that comes after you realize it is that you don't have time to express it. Before I could get close, I lost it completely. There is no more chance. Back to the world. It was a chance God gave me to make amends. I don't have time to care about the reserve, shyness, and gradual progress of love, and I can't learn it. I just want to be with him. I only want it, I want it the most, and I want it again. So I hugged Charlie tightly and kissed him on the lips. As our lips and teeth touched, I panted softly and said, "Okay, help me. I'll give you a reward in advance." Charlie was stunned for a moment, then pushed me down deeper and harder onto the sofa. 2 hours later. I was too tired to get up. But she held Charlie tightly and refused to let go. I looked at him. I was so sleepy that I couldn't open my eyes, but I still didn't want to close them. I'm still a little scared that this is a dream. He leaned over and kissed me gently on the cheek and between my brows. "I'm here, Amy, go to sleep." "I'm always here." I hummed. Unable to hold on any longer, I fell into darkness. In darkness. I woke up suddenly. I was wearing indigo pajamas, lying in a black and white bedroom. There was a glass of cold water on the bedside table, and white pills next to the water. I looked around, it was deserted, but there was no familiar person there. My pain throbbed violently. Memories come to mind, scene after scene. Finally, it freezes on that low, hoarse voice that carries an electric current. "Amy, I really, really like you." It turned out to be a dream. It suddenly dawned on me that it was really a beautiful dream. I clutched my chest tightly, my hands and feet were cold, as if I were covered in a net. Being deprived of the right to breathe little by little, tears fell one by one. "Amy, what's wrong?" A man suddenly opened the door, walked in front of me and looked at me in panic. My eyes were blurry with tears. I raised my hand to wipe away my tears and finally saw the man's appearance clearly. "Amy, it's okay. I just went out to deal with Emma's family. I found the agent who was bought by Emma's family and the cleaner who happened to pass by that day. He saw that it was Emma who pushed Jane down, and Emma was convicted. I am also suing Emma's family for false accusations. Amy, no one will frame you again." The man patted my back gently and told me everything that happened while I was sleeping. I looked up at him. I leaned gently in his arms, listening to the clear sound coming from his chest. With a strong heartbeat, he finally laughed. "It's okay, I miss you." I whispered to him, "Charlie, did I tell you? I really like you so much." The man laughed and hugged me tightly. He said, "I like Amy too." Lovers, separated by many years. Finally they told each other their love. Mountains, sea, time and space. Nothing can hinder it. The reunion of lovers. I am born again. After I was reborn, the first thing I did was to visit Emma's family. But I found that Emma's family was still harmonious. Amy is still the coolest and smartest goddess in the whole college. Instead of Mrs. Charlie in the previous life who seemed gentle but whose heart was already broken. Amy feels insecure. The prison was too hard and she was envied by others, so the prisoners would often torture her on purpose in the middle of the night. Also, after she was released from prison, even if she fell asleep, she would be awakened by the slightest noise. Then, I couldn't sleep anymore. One sitting lasts a whole night. But even so, she was able to do her job without any mistakes during the day. My Amy is as fragile as snow and as tough as pine. It seems that a ray of light can melt it. But in reality, she is indestructible. I love her and adore her. At the school's freshman ceremony, Amy gave a speech as the student union president. I sat in the audience and watched from afar. The girl was wearing a uniform and had a ponytail, revealing a beautiful yet childish face. She flaunted her beauty and showed off her knowledge. Many people were fascinated not only by watching but also by listening. Amy at this time was the youthful, innocent top student in his memory. Amy stood on the podium, the wind blew past her, blowing her hair apart. The sunlight seemed to favor her, dyeing her with a light golden color. In an instant, I suddenly thought, how nice it would be if time could stop at this moment. His Amy would never accept those hardships. Always stay simple. Laughter is laughter, suffering is suffering. You won't be subject to rumors or ridicule. How nice that would be. I already knew something would happen to Emma, so I installed surveillance cameras in that remote corridor. Just when I was about to post it, I received a message from Amy asking for help. At that moment, I knew that Amy was back too. I wonder what her attitude is this time. Wonder how she will deal with Emma's family. This time she refused to take the blame. But gradually, no one came. In the sunshine, I saw her quietly dragging her luggage and walking on the deserted Wutong Avenue. When she saw me, she smiled. Makes me feel. Well, the sun was so warm that day. I took her home. I pretended to be unaware of everything. After working hard for a long time, I made a bowl of noodles that had no color. Look at her stunned. Guide her little by little to discover my love for her. Seeing her heart tremble for me. I should have been delighted. But the moment I saw her tears, I felt heartbroken again. Forget it, I thought. It's enough that I love her. What does it matter whether she loves me or not? But in the end, she threw herself into my arms and clung to me. Tell me, Charlie, I really like you. At that moment, I just felt flowers blooming all over the sky. I tried hard to hold back the soreness in my eyes and responded to my princess word by word, me too. Amy, I really like you, too. People say that lovers will always meet each other. Then I think, the day we met. The sun must be warm.